Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your week ahead tarot with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, you know I love you for it. With that said, before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise. They help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So this week, for your key to the week, you have the Tower card. Right, all bets are off this week. I think it was Cancer that also got this card, and I said the same thing to them. Just with the energy that we've got floating around at this moment in time, all bets are off. Whatever you think is going to happen is probably not going to happen. Whatever you don't think is going to happen is probably going to happen. You've got to stay adaptable, stay on your toes. This is like you're, not in a bad way, but this is kind of like sparring with the universe. If you expect it to throw that right hook, you better watch out for the left. So just keep that in mind this week. The other thing with the Tower card as well, sometimes this comes in as a big realization that you have, and very often it's not an external thing. Sometimes it can be an external thing, but very often it's one that comes from within. This is, when the lightning strikes the crown or the top of the building, so to speak, this is where your mind or your current understanding is completely shattered, and you come into a completely different understanding or a completely different personal paradigm. This can be very shocking at first, but ultimately in the end, it's always a very liberating experience. We all have Tower moments. We all have several Tower moments throughout our lives, sometimes throughout an entire year. I think 2020 has definitely given us, more of that kind of energy in terms of the things that have happened that have been surprising, right? For your actions and options this week, you've got the Nine of Swords. Okay, so just because I'm telling you that this week all bets are off doesn't mean that you should get in your head. You've got the Nine of Swords here. Couple of things. One, if you try to burn the candle at both ends this week, the chances are you're going to burn yourself out really quickly. This would be a week to rest and take your time with something. Don't try to do things too fast, especially with some of the pace changes and stuff that may come up this week. It's really important that you take everything at a slow and steady pace. It doesn't have to be glacial. It just needs to be, if you try to do too much this week, the chances are you really will burn yourself out. And remember, your Tower card represents your nervous system, like literally. So this week, if you're not getting enough sleep, or if there's a lot going on and you're really stressed, you could really feel worn out by the time we get to the end of the week. You don't want that. All right, for your communications and conversations, you have the Hermit card, right? And this is right underneath the Tower card, so there is some personal illumination coming in. Now, if you are communicating with somebody this week and you're having a big realization, it's probably going to come from either somebody that you see as a spiritual mentor or guru, or it's going to come through somebody that is older, somebody that's wiser, somebody that's walked a path that you want to, or already has a certain amount of wisdom and knowledge, to impart. This is somebody that, you have a lot of respect for, but because it's in the communications and conversations, it suggests that a lot of the communication that happens this week is going to be less about the quantity and more about the quality. So that's something that you really want to focus on this week. If it's the surface level stuff, if it's the frivolous, if it's the the superficial, you won't have time for that. Like this week, Sagittarius rarely does anyway. Light-hearted and fun, yes, absolutely, but superficial, not really. It's not your bag, as a generalization. For the money and materials, you have the Six of Cups. All right, so finances isn't in dire straits. There's nothing here too worrying. It just suggests that this week you're going to have to balance out the finances. So this could be balancing out the books. Maybe it's looking at your end of year stuff. I don't know how it works wherever you are in the world, but maybe you're looking at that, and this could see you really starting to ask yourself, okay, what am I going to allocate to each thing that I need to do? This is about you really thinking about what you're doing with your resources this week. For your physical health and vitality, this is likely, again, This week, if you are working hard, you know, have your things like your echinacea, golden seal, you know, is it golden seal? There's another one as well that's really good for immune system. Echinacea is definitely one. You could, you know, I usually chuck a couple of drops into my herb or fruit tea of oregano oil. It's you know, it's got so many uses and it really does work wonders. Always read the label, check in with a doctor. When it comes to the home and the environment, this could literally just be a week where you're inviting friends, family or siblings over. If you're not in a space where you can do that at the moment, this will be you finding alternative ways to connect to or with them. For your love and relations, you have the Strength card, right? So for those of you that are partnered, this comes right underneath the Hermit card. You and your partner are just spending more time together this week, and I feel like this is what your heart really needs at the moment. The healing that will take place from that, right, is really, really important. So dedicate your time to your personal relationships this week, and whoever that might be. For those of you that are single, I think you might be really shocked this week. For some of you, you could find a friend or a mentor really attractive, or you might decide, actually, you know what, I really like this person, but it could come really out of the blue. Like it could just sneak up on you and you're like, whoa, like, you know, where did that come from? I never expected that. Like you could be really surprised at yourself over either who or how that you know, that maybe like a crush sort of develops. But yeah, it's either which way, it's nice. And it looks like whoever this person is, there's a solid base of trust or friendship there already. It's not something that would have to be built over time, because this, you know, the Strength card suggests that this is somebody already close to your heart. So maybe some of you are, you know, finally ready to admit that you fancy a friend, or, you know, or a colleague at work. You know, like it could play out in so many different ways. It will be different for all of you, obviously, but yeah, this could be a week where you kind of finally get that in your mind and you're like, oh, okay, cool. That's what that is. I like that person. All right, with that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a great week. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up. And remember, you know, when it zigs, you got to zag. All right, take care, and I'll see you soon.